Good morning, and here we are again for another episode of Stuart's Classic Bikes and Cars. Today I'm going to check the squish clearance on this little Kawasaki we're working on. Now the squish clearance is this is the cylinder head, and as you can see this is the combustion chamber here. This is the spark plug coming through, but this landing here, this angled section here, is where I'm going to measure the squish clearance. Now I know with this, because under here there's an 8.5mm aluminium spacer. Okay, so I know that I've lifted this barrel by 8.5mm. Now, the squish clearance between there, and the piston top, I know is far too big. So what I want to do is measure it, because I can either lift the barrel up a little bit, lower the barrel a little bit, to reduce the squish clearance on the piston, because I want to make this clearance between here and the side of the piston 0.8mm to 1mm maximum. But ideally, I want it to be 0.8. And then I want to work out here the compression ratio, which is the volume inside, the swept volume against the compression of this. So with a few things to do. Now, as I know the squish clearance is far too big, normally I would use a pure lead solder, because I know it's like a 1mm solder or 1.2 will squash down to 0.8 easily. But because I know it's too big, as in 4 or 5mm, all I've got is some modelling clay which I've got. So on the top of the piston here, you can see that I put some modelling clay, can't you? Can you see that, Andrew? Yeah. The modelling clay on top of the piston. So what we're going to do, all I'm going to do is put the cylinder head back on. We'll move the piston down a little bit, making sure that the plasticine or the modelling clay stays in position. Okay, so that's the modelling clay on top of the piston. So what we're going to do now is reattach the cylinder head and tighten it down. We're just going to tighten it so it's down. We don't have to torque it up at the moment. Normally if we're tightening this to be running, I'd use a torque wrench and torque it down to the correct size, to the correct pounds per square inch, but this is just lightly tightened, just overhand tight, just so I can find out what the squish clearance is. I'm just doing a video, Mummy, with our Andrew. So we'll tighten this down. Mummy, ratchet. See, it only wants to be just overhand tight. It needs to be tight because I need to get an accurate thickness of the plastic gauge. It's modelling clay I'm using, but you can use children's plasticine or something similar. But when we get close to the 0.8, I need to be more accurate. So what I'm going to use then is some soft lead solder. Well, that's a cylinder head, just hand tight. So what we're going to do now, we're going to revolve the engine to squash the piston up against the plasticine. A couple of revolutions. Now we'll take the cylinder head back up again. Very hot this morning. We're on the farm in the workshop. I've turned the electric fan off because it makes too much noise and you won't be able to hear me. But it makes it very hot work with no fan on. But we're okay, we'll put the fan on in a minute. Right, we'll take this cylinder head off again. And wind this up to the top. Right, it's only just flattened the outside. If you can take a close look, Andrew, with the camera, if you can see here, where I'm pointing, there, and there, it's flattened off. So let's just measure that. So if I use my vernier and I put the point on the top of the piston, let's zero the vernier in first. So if I put the point on top of the piston, like so, and slide the vernier down till it touches the top, I've got 5.1 squish clearance at the moment. So we'll just check the other side to see if we're in the same ballpark. So we slide it in till it's touching, then go down to the top. See at the top there, oops a daisy, doesn't matter. So we slide it in, put it on the side, and just touch it on the top of the piston and slide it down. 4.3. So we've got about between 4.3 and 5 millimeter. See, it's not very accurate this. If I was using lead solder, I'd get an exact measurement. But because we're using plasticine, it's not quite as accurate. But it doesn't matter at the moment, but I'm just trying to get a rough idea of where we are. 4.1. So let's say we've got 4.1 clearance. So that's where we are at the moment. We need to reduce this clearance between the top of the piston and the outside top. At the moment, it's 4.1. What I need is 0.8. So you can see what I'm trying to do. The problem is, if I lower this barrel down, which I'm going to have to do, or get a different piston, with a different dome that comes up to the top. Let's have a little look and see what the easiest way of doing it is. But if I lower this by 3.6, it's 4.1. So if we have 4.1, then I want 0.8. So that's 0.9, 3.2. But if I lower this by 3.2, I'm going to have to higher the ports correspondingly by 3.2 millimeter. So let me have a little look, and I'll see you next time, and I'll explain what we're going to do. So that's all for now. I'll see you next time and let you know how we get on, whether we're going to have a different piston or just lower the barrel down. But if I get a different piston, I'm going to have the same problem. The ports will be wrong. So we're going to have to alter the ports anyhow. Okay, thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe and keep watching. Thank you.